name's Bond. James Bond.
Hello and welcome. You're listening to Bond vs. Godzilla, the podcast that compares and contrasts two of the longest-running film series in cinema history. My name is Cruz Moore, and I will be your resident Godzilla expert on this show. Joining me on this cinematic journey for however long it lasts are three of my very good friends who each have their own history and experience with both film franchises. Bond expert Jacob Roberts.
My name is Jacob Roberts, and I like my co-host the way I like my martinis, slightly agitated.
Audio engineer Willie Crook.
Damn!
And digital artist Chas Lemons.
I'm Charles Lemons, and for this recording, my voice will be pitched up intentionally.
On today's episode, we'll be tackling For Your Eyes Only from 1981 and Godzilla vs. Megalon from 1973. So without further ado, Jake, give us a backstory on For British Eyes Only.
Nice. After the massive financial success of Moonraker, Cubby Broccoli and Eon Productions found themselves with a difficult task. Where do you take the franchise after you have already sent Bond on a mission in outer space? The answer, it turns out, was obvious. It was time to bring James Bond back down to Earth. For Your Eyes Only ushered James Bond into a new era for the franchise. Some call it the Dark Age of Bond, when the overall quality of the franchise takes a dip in the eyes of the general audience. Some call it the John Glenn era, since he will serve as director for this and the following 4 films. Personally, I like to refer to this era of Bond as the 80s. While the Cold War thawed slightly throughout the 70s, tensions arose once again at the end of the decade due to proxy wars in Africa and the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan in 1979. Ronald Reagan was elected President of the United States and held a much more aggressive attitude towards the USSR than his predecessor, declaring his intentions to eliminate the evil empire once and for all. Once again, the world faced the threat of total nuclear war, and once again, James Bond would be the one caught in the middle of it. For Your Eyes Only is a purposeful departure from the wild and wacky antics of Moonraker. John Glenn wanted to bring Bond back to its roots, with a more gritty and realistic story that reflected the political landscape at the time, without unbelievable gadgets or tongue-in-cheek nonchalance from Bond. Since there were no more full-length Ian Fleming novels to base movies on, screenwriters had to turn to Fleming's collection of short stories instead. The common technique at first was to take 2 stories and glue them together with original plots to create a full-length adventure. In this case, For Your Eyes Only features elements from the short story of the same name, as well as the short story Risico. For Your Eyes Only is probably best remembered for its pre-title sequence, in which Bond dispatches a villain who happens to be bald and has a white cat after visiting the grave of his wife. This sequence was made in response to the news that Kevin McClory planned to make good on his legal right to create his own adaptation of Thunderball to compete with Eon's Bond series. Eon didn't have the rights to Blofeld or Spectre, but they cobbled together what elements they legally could, just so that they could give McClory one massive middle finger, declaring that they don't need Blofeld or Spectre to be successful.
So the fact that it was cobbled together from 2 short stories makes complete sense, and I think attributes to the more underwhelming sense of I don't really know what's happening in the story.
That's very fair.
But I can't help but give this movie a pass simply from the fact that it has Tywin Lannister and Tevye from Fiddler on the Roof in the same damn movie.
He finally became a rich man.
Yeah. And that's about, I don't know, only one of the major highlights that I had in this film, other than the opening scene, which immediately starts off with Bond visiting the grave of his wife, which is okay, they're calling back to that from 5 movies so far.
Yeah, if it's 6 movies ago.
Yeah, which completely caught me off guard. And then we have Blofeld again. And I was like, I'm almost certain he died in Diamonds Are Forever, and now he's just here. And then your explanation completely takes care of that. So, But at least this film, has this incredible opening where our hero kills a disabled man, so that works.
That is the canonical death of Blofeld, at least in terms of the original chronology of the movies. He gets dumped down a smokestack.
I like how he just kills one of his probably loyal pilots. And then he's just like, fuck it, I'll just take it from here. And he just has the helicopter rigged to a remote control. And that's how he fucks with Bond instead of using his henchmen in a perfectly hermetically sealed helicopter cabin.
He turns into Ed from Cowboy Bebop in that instance.
Oh my God, he absolutely does.
That sequence is always super memorable, just because it brings back Blofeld in quotation marks. It features one of the most memed lines in the entire fandom, which is, Mr. Bond, we can make a deal. I'll buy you a delicatessen in stainless steel.
What does that mean? I think I was trying to figure out what he was offering him. I didn't realize that.
A delicatessen in stainless steel.
He's just trying to fuck with them.
So was the fact that you don't see his face, but it looked like he was bald, so could he have easily been like the Donald Pleasance version?
I think that it's kind of weird because they're kind of going for like an amalgamation. He's supposed to be bald, so that kind of brings out the Donald Pleasance Blofeld, but he also has like the neck brace and he's all mangled up, so that almost kind of calls back to the Telly Savalas Blofeld. I mean, the official proper answer is it's not Blofeld. It's just a villain who happens to be bald and owns a white cat.
Mm-hmm. Bullshit. It's Blofeld. Ask questions.
Yeah, exactly.
It's totally Blofeld. Palpatine's behind it all.
I'm wondering, how many tries did it take for them to perfectly just shunt off a wheelchair from a helicopter landing skid perfectly, dead center, into the top of a giant factory chimney? How long did that take?
It's called using models and forced perspective.
That's good.
That makes sense.
That's funny because a lot of it was done with just an actual remote control toy helicopter. The shot where the helicopter flies into that interior of the construction factory set, that was forced perspective using a model in the foreground. So a lot of camera trickery work was put into that sequence.
Yeah, I would easily put that death in my top 10 Bond moments so far.
I mean, say what you will about For Your Eyes Only, I'd say its pre-title sequence is one of the best pre-titles in the series.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how how there isn't a gif of just the helicopter just shunting him into that chimney, just fuck off.
Well, they essentially had that entire sequence sitting in their back pocket to bring out, for the day that they could use Blofeld again.
Oh, wow.
Mostly because of the contract situation with Roger Moore, because Roger Moore was only initially contracted for 3 films. And after The Spy Who Loved Me, the contract was renewed on a film-by-film basis. So there was always a possibility that any film could be Roger's last. And so they had this sequence prepared so that if they were to bring in a new actor, they could have this Blofeld sequence to tie a new actor in with the previous movies and maintain the chronology. When McClory made his announcement that, hey, he's remaking Thunderball, that's when...
the hell you are?
Yeah, that's when the producer said, oh, you know what?
Why, you
so
little...
they brought that out. On that note, I know that the producers were always in a constant state of screen testing new actors to replace Roger just in case, behind Roger's back. Until Roger found out about it, he was so angry that he almost quit the role because they were screen testing actors behind his back. Which, fair enough. Michael Wilson himself co-wrote the script along with, I believe this one was Richard Maybaum, in order to kind of get it back to the series roots and more towards an early Connery sort of style. Blowing up the Lotus Esprit, forcing Bond to use a rundown Citroen, was written to express that Bond was going to have to rely on his wits this time instead of his gadgets. That scene actually where they blew up the Lotus got thunderous applause at the premiere because at the time London was undergoing these series of car thefts. Like car theft was going rampant in London. So seeing like people trying to get into Bond's car and it just blows up on him. That apparently got thunderous applause.
The greatest form of security.
Also, Ken Adam wasn't available for this film. So production design fell into the hands of Peter Lamont, who opted for more realistic sets and locations as opposed to the grand, outlandish villain bases that Adam is known for.
Which I guess is why we settle for some kind of like temple at the top of a mountain.
The monastery,
that's
that's real location shooting. That's an actual location in Greece where there's several monasteries on top of those pillared rocks. Funny story about that. That's actually a really funny story regarding those. Well, the producers did get permission from the Orthodox Church to film at that 15th century monastery that they used for the climax. The monks that actually lived there at the monastery were furious. The Greek Supreme Court had to step in and rule that the monastery was owned by the government and there was nothing the monks could do about it. Wow. In response, the monks staged many non-aggressive demonstrations against the film, including hanging out their laundry and plastic tarps all over the buildings to try to sabotage the shootings. The crew solved this problem by building their own monastery set on an adjacent rock that they used for pickup shots. Passive-aggressive Greek monks.
the worst kind of passive aggressiveness.
Right.
Silence.
Less passive aggression and more looking for God.
A vow of the silent treatment.
Mm-hmm.
Kicking off plot elements, what are our thoughts on Bond girl Melina Havelock?
I like the fact that she's incredibly capable and takes matters into her own hands.
Hell yes.
She's one of my favorites. I'm trying to remember if she is my favorite.
Definitely one of the
She
better.
probably isn't if you can't remember if she is.
She is of the ones we've seen so far.
She is of the ones we've seen so far.
It is nice to finally see a character that actually seems like they have about as much going on for them as Bond does. Maybe just not in so much as of his like official capacity, but you know, she's like a student, she's well learned, and she's capable.
She can kill you.
Yeah,
With the crossbow.
The only problem is that Bond insistently keeps showing up to be like, you should probably not do this.
That's really before he has like a grasp of how well she can handle herself.
Yeah. On top of the fact that the actress is like deadpan the whole movie. It's the same dead-eyed expression, and I don't get a lot of emotion from her.
And I like that. Even in their like rendezvous at the end, she
looks so unfazed by everything.
and
Well, her parents did get killed by a freaking water plane with a machine gun mounted on the bottom. That's kind of extraordinary.
Yeah, but there are no extraordinary emotions to accompany it.
Well, I mean, if that's how your parents died, you probably wouldn't know how to feel either. Well, okay, not you.
Well,
but
let's
in general.
find out.
I've never really had.
Let's find out.
I never really had a problem
Yes,
with
now.
Carol Bouquet's performance. Never really had much of a problem with it. She has like a sense of this like underlying rage and anger that she taps into really well.
Yeah.
She's definitely up there as one of my favorite Bond girls in the series. She's up there. To me, it's the biggest shame that she kind of lands in one of the more forgettable movies.
Yeah.
And so that has kind of doomed her as one of the more forgettable Bond girls. She's kind of unsung in my opinion.
and that untapped that rage that you were talking about, that's what I see in her eyes more than just like a dead expression. I see I've got my reason for being here. I'm angry, and yes, I'll be nice and I'll play nice, and I'm okay working with you, but I'm pissed, and I'm not gonna stop until my job is done.
Yeah, like she's like primed to snap at Bond, like like if he says the wrong thing.
What's awesome about her is that normally I don't talk about the books too much here on the podcast. I like to focus on the movies, but it is worth mentioning that Havelock, who's named Judy in the original short story, she is actually a bigger badass in the original short story, which is not something you can usually say about the literary Bond girls. Because the original books are very, very misogynist. But she is like the most supremo badass in the short story.
On top of the fact that this character kills Tywin Lannister the same way that he died in Game of Thrones. So that was a complete surprise to me.
How does he die in Game of Thrones?
He gets shot by an arrow.
Okay.
Arrowed. I've always been a fan of Hector Gonzalez. He's always been like a cool villain to me, even though he only has one line in the entire movie. Still, there's something about his demeanor and the way he carries himself that I always liked as a kid watching this one. And I always love the way he says, "License to kill or be killed. Take him away."
Yeah.
I always love that delivery.
He's just like, take him away.
I've
I don't
always
want to
loved
look
that
at
delivery.
him. Yeah.
Which, speaking of which, like, what's up with the fact that Bond is immediately caught on his like first attempt to figure out what the hell's going on?
Plot contrivance so that Bond can get a clear look at Locke and identify him later.
So speaking of Bond girls, I'm finding it rather strange that the skier is the figure skater is a rare exception for Bond this time.
Let's talk about BB.
Okay.
He doesn't like be like, oh wow, you're young, and then sleep with her.
BB.
Yeah, it's like he wants to get out of that situation rather than be into it. So I'm confused as to what is it about BB that makes her different.
BB is interesting because there's different reads on BB with her role in the film and Bond's interactions with her. Would it add context if I said that the actress was 17?
Those add a lot of context.
I always assumed that the figure skater was 16.
Yeah,
Like,
she acts like someone who's like got years before she's 20.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
The gears are starting to turn, aren't they?
like I kind of felt like the actress, the character is like 16 or 17. I don't think she's ever given an age.
Well, yeah, they don't say her age.
No,
do
they never say
But-
her age,
but
but
I
she's
will-
definitely supposed to be on the younger side, and the actress herself was 17. Paired up with Roger, who's like, was either 50 or about to turn 50.
She still gave him a kiss.
Yeah, so when it comes to BB, I think I see, where they were going for with including her I think they wanted to give Bond like, oh, here's his moral line that he won't cross. But that doesn't detract away from the absolute awkwardness of it.
Yeah.
I think back to an earlier film in To Live and Let Die.
Yeah,
where
how
you
old
were
was
kind of
What's-Her-Face?
criticizing like, oh, here's Bond kind of taking advantage of this mentally younger, innocent character. Well, now we flip the table. Here's an innocent young character forcing herself onto Bond. Bond's now finally on the receiving end of this nonsense, and it is still horribly awkward.
But at least he has like a somewhat reasonable he has like an actual like what you should kind of do approach. Like he almost says to her like, "Listen, dear, you're mighty great, but anybody who would want us together is severely sick." Look at camera.
And it's not like BB is incredibly important to the plot. She's really not. She really doesn't do anything aside from provide Bond with a little bit of information.
And then get backhanded twice in a row.
Yeah, you see, and that's another thing, because I remember we see the shot, she gets slapped in the face twice, like within the span of 2 minutes. And you notice that each time there is a jump cut. I'm not 100% positive, but I'm pretty sure that also probably had something to do with the fact that she was 17.
Yeah.
They couldn't include the frame of her getting shot. They can show the wind-up and the aftermath, but the actual impact is cut.
Which is strange because, I mean, you can kind of pull that off with the illusion of just you're supposed to move your face.
Which they could have easily, they probably were doing that, but they also, it's like it helps to just remove that one frame that might be
I mean,
problematic.
it could have been like United Artists that forced the editor's hand. It could have been like a corporate suit kind of decision as opposed to the creative decision.
Mm-hmm.
It's
or a personal decision like this.
It's interesting to ponder.
I just slapped Chaz again and no one saw me.
Why is no one stopping this?
I saw it. I just been testing.
You
it
saw
out.
nothing, Willie.
BB's a weird one. BB's always been a weird one.
So any real connection to the fact, I mean, like you have the title from the short story For Your Eyes Only, but the film seems insistent on having 2 close-ups of eyes, one in a rearview mirror, the label on the folder that Bond receives, and the ending of the film itself where she says For Your Eyes Only.
Which is not the most awkward title drop in a Bond film.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
I'm sorry, but I just have no time to die.
So, yeah. Wow, James, this truly is the quantum of solace. But yeah, no, this film definitely has an interest in eye close-ups.
Yeah. Which I'm personally a huge fan of when it comes to cinematography, but this film in particular, I was like,
Everyone had to
I
have
get
a
it.
nice
Yeah,
eye close-up.
I get it.
Even like the weird digital face as he was programming it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the identity.
Damn it.
The identigraph. The
Oh my God,
with
that
the
thing.
nose.
I mean, this movie, in many ways, is very 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The identigraph is very 80s. That's high tech.
No,
shit
wait,
right
Bond.
there.
We have technology.
We have technology.
Technology.
Like James, like just like make a cut where he just stands next to the guy operating in the machine, and just like enhance. It just gets a little bit more like the guy. Enhance. It gets a little bit more like the guy.
Now squint.
Thank God in this movie, Bond has a perfect photographic memory for faces.
Yeah. I mean, you're describing a white guy with glasses, and I know 3 of them in this room.
Yes, but
And
I have
you're almost-
I have rectangular. He has smaller rectangular, and he has big ones.
Chaz isn't white.
Well,
He's making a joke.
oh yeah, you are the other. Well,
I was making a joke.
I'm close enough, and you are the 4th white guy with glasses.
Surprise.
According to the identigraph, Bond, the culprit we're looking for is literally every male in the United Kingdom. What are our thoughts on our villain this time, Aristotle Christatos?
Who was the villain this
Yeah,
time?
I forgot who it was too.
And
it
that's
wasn't-
exactly correct. Next topic.
I remember the guy who looks like Vladimir Lenin, and that's it.
Yeah,
Who
yes,
was
I
he
would
anyway? I
say
thought he looked familiar.
Julian Glover. He's a very respected actor who's in a lot of good things. But
Except for this.
except for I would say
Well, obviously, he's the guy who did that one thing in that one movie.
No, wait, even better. He's also in fucking Game of Thrones. He plays a fucking pedophile.
This movie is a predecessor to Game of Thrones.
Oh, but he also voices a giant spider in Harry Potter.
he did. Yeah, he did do that. Yeah.
So that's
What the fuck
so,
is going on?
so that's who the Spider Queen
What's going
himself
on
was
is
looking
you don't
for.
watch enough shit, Willie.
So, needless to say, Julian Glover is a very respected actor. He also plays what is the most forgettable villain in the entire Bond franchise.
They pull the rug from under your feet with freaking Tevye not being the villain, and
Yeah,
then you have this guy who I'm genuinely like not surprised. He just walks up and I'm like, okay. I mean, I love the coral scene because I thought he was just trying to drown them, but every time they hit the coral, I'm like, oh,
my God,
shit.
I physically flinch every time I watch that sequence, even to this day. Every time they get slid across that coral and you can see the blood, and it's just, oh, that hurts. Ugh.
Yeah, because his motivation, like you said, it's just this MacGuffin of like, we need to steal this device that I guess can control submarines, and
It's
that's
a MacGuffin.
yeah.
Wait,
Which
what was the mission? What was the device this time?
exactly?
I think what the device was, if I remember correctly,
See if you can actually remember.
I
what
don't
this
even
is.
remember what it looks like.
It's like a
it looked like a
keyboard.
typewriter.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, from the boat. Okay.
So
They had this pretty lamp in the ship, and the Russians want it, but we want it more.
Exactly.
So that thing was a device that could send coordinates for ballistic submarine missiles to be told to fire at.
Which there seems to be like an obsession with like submarines during this time period because that seems to just keep playing
Cold
into
War.
it.
That's
Yeah, I
Cold-
guess. Yeah.
Cold War and like this was Cold War was right after World War II, which Germany basically wrecked shit with their U-boat program.
Well, you didn't say that correctly, Chaz. You were supposed to say it After the end of World War II, the world is split into two, East and West. This marked the beginning of a period of time known as the Cold War.
Well, I haven't trained under the boss in a very long time, so I'm getting a little sloppy.
Am I the only one that's getting a little just tired of underwater scenarios in the series? Mainly because they are just incredibly slow.
Can I bring this one up?
Here's the thing. Most of it was filmed underwater. Most of it was legit. However, Carol Bouquet, who played Melina, she could not dive underwater due to a medical issue. So anytime they had a close-up of Melina underwater, it was faked. They used blue lighting, bubble machines, and an air blower to simulate her being underwater.
Cruz, would it have made you happier if they sped it up in post?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't blame you.
I mean, that might kill the tension, but still.
I do think that it's not as slow as Thunderball,
Right.
but having the underwater sequences were definitely long-winded, protracted. But I think the entire movie is like that.
Yeah.
It's like
Every time we get a new Bond film, I'm like, don't go under the fucking water, please. I can't do it anymore.
Even though like it's underwater and like they don't have any hills to traverse, it feels like the little U-boat that could.
Yeah.
I feel like my big problem with For Your Eyes Only, honestly, is I feel like it is a bunch of action sequences that go on for far too long with not enough in between. It sounds weird to say, but I've always felt this film had too much action. I've actually been waiting for this movie. I was waiting for this movie specifically to kind of go over my general grievances with the Roger Moore era. I think while each movie I do think holds up individually, just each movie by themselves are fine. They're great. They're super fun. But when you watch them as a whole, there does appear some problems, mainly with as Cruz calls them, the mission of the week format. The Roger Moore era is very formulaic. My main issue with it is the fact that the films never take any risks. They always try to go bigger and better with the set pieces and the stunt work, but it's never at the cost of the formula. We hardly ever see Bond explored as a character beyond, I don't like killing, but I do it anyway, and the occasional, I'm sad my wife died. The status quo is never challenged. The political commentary is never too politically deep, which are all things that we see in other eras of the franchise at least attempt to do. Not so much with the Moore era. And this is a pattern that, honestly, I'm starting to see happen in the Godzilla franchise as well.
Yeah.
The deeper we get into the Monster of the Week style of the films, I am noticing that the films that, while perfectly palatable on their own for the most part, they don't really offer much that previous films didn't. Tonight's being the worst offender of that by far.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my general grievances with Roger Moore, is that it very formulaic, doesn't take risks. All right, so here's some rapid fire trivia about this movie.
Hit me.
All right.
Who designed the Bond sweater with the bee?
Oh my god! I can't believe I didn't write this down as a note. Yeah, what the fuck was up with his vest having a cute little bee?
Probably the costume designer. I mean,
what?
When Bond, in Cortina, Bond, when it's most notable when he's talking to Luigi Ferrara for the first time, but he wears this, really heavy, like cobalt blue parka. And the zipper tag in the front has this big old metal B on it.
The letter or the animal?
The B.
The letter B.
The letter B.
Okay.
For Bond.
Okay.
At least the zipper tag didn't say 007. Which, to be fair, there have been times when Bond has been walking around on him with equipment on him that says 007.
Yeah, okay. I saw this on the wiki, and it I didn't really research this, but it just in about halfway through the wiki page, there was a picture of a watch that said 007. I was like, wait, was that really in the movie somewhere? Was it?
Best secret agent ever.
License to shill.
So that's where Archer gets it from.
All right. So yeah, rapid fire trivia. The girl in the flower shop in Cortina, She won that role through a contest held by Playboy magazine. The prize was not only a small role in the film, but also her own photo spread in the magazine. Cassandra Harris, who played Liesel von Schlaff, was the wife of future Bond actor Pierce Brosnan. Brosnan was on set during the filming of the Countess's death on the beach, and it is believed that he was approached about being the next Bond during this time. Due to Bernard Lee's illness and eventual death due to stomach cancer, the producers decided not to include M in the script out of respect, making this the only Bond film in which the character M does not appear. Instead, the writers gave M's lines to MI6 Chief of Staff Bill Tanner, played by James Villiers, and Frederick Gray, who 90% of his dialogue is going,
Wait, I'm sorry, who was that again?
Frederick Gray, Minister of Defense.
Ah.
Because they split up M's lines between Tanner and Gray. Tanner gets most of it. 90% of Gray in the movie is just going, Roger Moore heavily disliked the scene where he kicked Locke's car off the cliff, feeling that it was something that his version of Bond wouldn't do. Roger wanted the dove pin to be enough to tip the car over the edge.
Okay, that makes sense.
In the end, he was convinced to do the scene as written. Oh damn.
So wait,
forgot that he
his
did
Bond is not above blowing people up with nukes.
We're going back to this again, are we, Cruz?
He'll kick a car. I mean, for fuck's sake, what?
Well, you know what they say, Cruz. Speak softly and don't be afraid to Hiroshima someone.
He throws a disabled man into a chimney, but he doesn't want to kick a car.
It was Blofeld.
Or was it?
Cruz throw is being morally
This guy
like,
also
generous.
killed Bond's wife, okay?
He didn't just throw him off of a cliff or something like that. He scooted him up in a helicopter's landing skid and just perfectly ski-balled him 100 points right into an industrial chimney.
But kicking an automobile, I never.
The ski stunts in this film were once again filmed by the legendary Willie Bogner. I will always bring him up whenever I can because the James Bond ski stunts are always amazing. He developed a new filming technique that involved him being pulled by a bobsled. And on the last day of filming for the bobsled sequence, an accident occurred when stuntman Paolo Rigon became trapped underneath the bobsled and was unfortunately killed. This occurred only a week after an American bobsledder was killed on the exact same leg of the track during the World Championship. The incident forced a new regulation that shortened the length of the track.
How about you just don't have bobsledding? How about you don't have this high speed? Speed and ice are two things that should not go together, I think.
Cruz, you also have a little lever that kind of slows you down, but probably really doesn't do shit.
There's a lot of things in this world that shouldn't go together, and yet here we are.
Why?
Yeah, that's why it's a helmet sport.
Or it could just be no sport at all.
Well, they didn't have video.
Or maybe just put an inner tube instead.
Their video games sucked back then, Cruz. It's a little bit more understandable under that context.
Are you talking shit about Pong?
No,
That was the whole MacGuffin in this movie was an Atari 2600.
Guys, we'll have plenty of time to talk about video games in the next movie.
Oh, yeah. Go Fast and Pong are totally the same experiences. If you have Pong, why even bother trying Go Fast?
Pong.
You don't need Go Fast. Have Pong.
Pong, Burnout Revenge.
So director John Glenn has a trademark that he likes to leave in every film he directs, which has come to be known as the John Glenn pigeon. The pigeon always bursts out as a cheap jump scare during tense moments. John Glenn is directing the next 4 films. Have fun. So there was a slight bit of controversy surrounding this film in regards to a model who appears in the film named Tula, who is in fact transgendered. When this came to light after filming, the media had a field day with it.
They fucking would.
Oh yeah, but the production team defended her and attempted to protect her from the ridicule. That the media was just like, oh, one of the women in the James Bond film is a man. You know, the whole ordeal was so over the top that it did have some consequences, with some people still being led to believe that it was the main Bond girl who was the trans one, and I had to correct people. Thought like, oh, that's what the main girl is trans. Like, no, she's not. Tula was just a bit part She was an extra. She was one of the girls walking around at Gonzalez's pool.
What?
She was just one of the girls walking around. And yet, because she was trans, the media latched onto it, and went on essentially a mudslinging campaign.
That's like nudging someone like with your elbow and being like, "Hey, did you know that this extra is actually a trans woman?" And it's like, "Oh, okay."
It's dumb. Blondie singer Debbie Harry was originally hired to perform the title song.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, but she insisted on singing her own original song instead of the one composed by Bill Conti, so she was replaced by Sheena Easton. Blondie eventually did release their rendition of For Your Eyes Only in one of their albums.
Better. I don't know. What do you think, Jake?
I mean, I've grown accustomed to the original theme, the theme that's actually used in the movie. But every once in a while, I listen to this, I'm like, this feels very Bond.
Yeah, exactly.
I condone this message. And also, who are you again? Are you my grandfather? This is President. The president's talking to. We get it, Cruz. Politics is a shit show. Everyone knows this. Sorry. I'm bringing a rubber chicken to the next recording.
No.
It's going to be my deterrent to playing this song.
Does he do this to you a lot?
He did this earlier today when Eric and I were talking about politics. And I basically said the same thing like, Cruz, we get it. Politics is a shit show. We all know this.
Then stop talking about
Robin Young.
Thank
Well,
you.
the thing is, that's what the people who are rich enough to own and never be in the media want us to do.
Not since Godzilla raids again have we reached the bottom of the Toho barrel. With Jun Fukuda's Godzilla vs. Megalon, wherein an angry subterranean race unleashes a giant beetle to destroy mankind along with the help of Gigan on loan from space jail. And it's up to Godzilla and Toho's metallic bastard child Jet Jaguar to save the day. Although the 1970s saw a decline in Godzilla popularity, Japanese television superheroes were on the rise thanks to Tsuburaya production show Ultraman and the myriad of spin-offs that came with it, featuring a metallic superhero that fights a new threatening kaiju every week, which inevitably led to Toho following suit, producing shows like Rainbow Man and Zone Fighter, with Godzilla making cameos in Zone Fighter and featured in Ultra Q and Ultraman, where they utilized old Godzilla suits for new monsters. This superhero popularity led to Jet Jaguar's introduction into the newest Godzilla installment. Unfortunately for him, it was for a film that suffered greatly from lack of time and budget, only being shot in 3 weeks, using a using a screenplay that was finished at the 11th hour and continuing to reuse as much stock footage as they could get away with from 9 separate Toho movies.
Oh, fuck.
The result is a movie that many fans consider to be the worst in the Godzilla series, but it lives on due to its sheer low-budget absurdity and perfectly lending itself to being riffed by ready and willing audiences, which includes an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000, a Let's Watch by Super Best Friends Play, and of course, by the 4 of us. So, what did you guys think of Rise Up, Megalon?
I
explains
am
so
one of the.
much.
That explains so much.
Explains so much.
3 fucking weeks they filmed this in?
I
Pretty
can
much.
see clearly now the rain is gone.
Yeah, but like.
And all I see now through the fog is Jet Jaguar.
Yeah. So before I go on to what I was about to say, is Jet Jaguar a thing that was created for this movie, or was he an already existing IP that they brought in?
So Jet Jaguar was the result of a nationwide contest held by Toho asking for designs for a new robot superhero, with the winning entry being drawn by an elementary school student for a character that they called Red Alone, which would eventually be renamed and altered into Jet Jaguar, who was supposed to have his own standalone film where he would fight against Megalon, until Toho realized that there was no way that Jet Jaguar would have market appeal on his own and put him in a Godzilla movie.
Stop saying things that makes this make so much sense.
Okay, but yeah, I'm glad to know that
I was gonna pull
I
that
am
up,
with like
Jez.
a majority of fans of considering this worst, like the worst, because you did not say one of in your introduction, you said the worst.
Yeah, I mean, like Raids Again and like Revenge, like some fans like, no, this is the worst one. No, that's the worst one.
I am in the camp of this is worse than Raids Again, and I mentioned that last night. And I say that because now that I've had time to properly understand why I think that, it's because Raids Again was the second movie. It was okay for that one to be bad because it suffered from like the hype and they wanted to get another cash grab at it.
Yeah.
And they just did Godzilla again, basically. This one had me riffing on it for like the first 20, 30 minutes and then getting increasingly frustrated that I was still watching.
That it wasn't getting better.
That it wasn't getting better. And that I actually kind of stopped having fun riffing in a way. I was just utterly disappointed. As an audio engineer, I was also very aggravated by how loud and screechy the kids' voice lines were recorded at.
Willie, you summed up the dubbing perfectly when the little kid yells Jet Jaguar, and I hear you in the theater go,
Yeah, like it was like the last line that he says.
Yeah.
It's like the last time he says it, and it was the worst
Oh
offender
my-
of the
oh,
entire
man.
film. And
I'm
I
so glad.
just went ah.
I'm so glad I get to subject my friends to these movies.
I know when it comes to Jet Jaguar, I pegged the Ultraman connection
Yeah,
immediately.
perfectly. Yeah.
Immediately. I'm like, hey, it's just Ultraman. So like it was designed to be a hero, a good guy, both in universe and in concept design, and yet he has the most villainous evil grin on his face.
Yeah, like I see that now. I was like, yeah, that face is fucking creepy. Even with like the shaded eyes and
It's
shit.
really freaking creepy.
And then
But-
they start going into, oh, he's not listening to us. He's just programming himself to do whatever he wants. And it's like,
It's like you want
Skynet.
you want an AI revolution? That's how you get the AI revolution.
Like I think the
Especially when they can program themselves superpowers.
And program themselves to be big.
yeah they just
he's huge.
They just couldn't think of computers snowballing like that. I think the smile back then was probably endearing because they didn't have the foresight of having the Green Goblin invented yet.
Because, I mean, that's one of the highlights about doing this is that, like, this is a VHS that I watched over and over again on a small TV, and now it's Criterion Blu-ray on the big screen, and we get to see Jet Jaguar in all his glory and Godzilla with his puppy dog face now. And
He was
great.
adorable.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this
He
is
was freaking adorable.
And honestly,
And I'm not okay with that.
exactly. Another reason why I consider this worse than Raids Again.
Not only was
Godzilla
his,
was like what's like a drug that gives you like happy hallucinogenic
Ecstasy?
yes. He was fucking high as fuck
Once again,
on
that's the,
ecstasy, and his bloodshot eyes did not help.
Not only was his design cute, but his mannerisms were cute. And like, you know, I can defend like, you know, the stereotypical Japanese, you know, martial art move, you know, hero poses. That's fine. But when he's like sticking his tongue out and licking and like doing these like really weird like lip movements, it's why is he cute?
And why is he walking out to the thing for like 2 minutes to what you could essentially put the John Cena intro music behind?
Okay, I'm sorry,
Hell
but
yeah.
I know, you know, it's partially the point, and there is some partial inspiration to it, but out of all of the Godzilla movies we've seen, the fight in this one was the most like a professional wrestling fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even
got two on two.
not just with the moves, but the mannerisms. Like when Godzilla first appeared, it looked like a WWE intro as, you know, wrestler
Yeah.
walking into the ring with their theme music.
And that went on way too long as well.
I don't think it went on long enough. That was awesome. Godzilla's ready to fucking... He's styling and profiling.
I mean, it really did feel like, and here comes Godzilla with the steel chair.
Coming in. Oh my god. But as God is my witness, Gigan's broken in half.
Godzilla's coming in with a real Chad energy. He's got his ooh-woo face on today. He's ready to rip shit in half.
As time went on, Jet Jaguar never shows up in another Godzilla film. And I think Toho kind of
Can't imagine
recognized...
why.
Yeah. Toho recognizes him as kind of like an embarrassment. Probably one of the reasons why Megalon never comes back. But he's shown up here and there. Like Megalon and Jet Jaguar are in the video games, and Jet Jaguar is super OP in the video games. Can you imagine why?
I mean, he's like the Michelin Man, but cool.
The fact that he can turn super small and super big. So when he's super small, you can't fucking fight back against him.
Can he actually turn super small?
2015 as well.
Oh, is that like just in the game, or is that in a different movie?
Oopsie.
No, I mean, no, it's like that's where it came from in the movie. In the movie, he turns super... Oh, right, he doesn't turn super small.
Yeah, he just turns super
okay.
giant.
He's just normal human
Right.
size, and then he goes kaiju size and then back down to
Right,
human
what
size.
I mean by super small is our size. So in the game, the monsters are still huge, destroying buildings, but you can be the size of a person fighting them.
It's like playing Oddjob in GoldenEye.
Yeah.
Does he retain the relative strength? So he's just like, it's
Yes.
a tiny punch,
Yeah.
but it's like, it's a punch that's just breaking through everything.
Yeah.
That's cool.
To the point where like you can pick up your enemy in the game, so when he picks you up, it's just him small.
That reminds me of like certain Dragon Ball Z video games I fought where like it is a nightmare to fight Krillin.
Yeah.
Which is opposite the show.
And continuing to reference the prequel novel to the Godzilla anime film trilogy, where all the monsters render Earth uninhabitable.
This ought to be good.
Wait, what? Sorry. I tuned out for like 2 seconds. I don't know why.
That's fine. We see Megalon destroy the Republic of South Africa in 2022. In 2029, he destroys India and Pakistan before moving on to the Philippines and is ultimately defeated in Okinawa by King Caesar, who we will be seeing very soon.
Okay.
Interesting.
I love the fact that Jake summed this movie up where Godzilla has about an hour in, 2 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
And at that point, Jake was like, this is a great Godzilla movie.
It made so much sense when you said that originally it wasn't going to be a Godzilla movie. And then Godzilla was kind of just paper clipped in. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. I never thought it was possible to have a Godzilla movie have a Godzilla movie that had less Godzilla screen time than 2014, but
Like
You haven't seen 2014, so
I
you're
know,
not allowed to
but-
say that.
just from what you said.
Stop trying to front, Willie.
Obviously, we've had quite a number of movies now that have been reusing old footage. You know, but
This one being the worst one.
this one, I notice it the most blatantly.
Same.
It especially because of the Ghidorah beam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chaz, you were like, man, it's so strange how like Megalon's power beam looks a lot like King Ghidorah's. I'm like, yeah, almost as if it's exactly the same footage. And you're like, oh.
Oh no!
Then it became impossible to notice all the stock footage, especially because it was
Yeah.
probably replicated via analog means, and it all looks worse than when it was originally shot.
In addition to when Megalon is knocking the planes out of the air, it's actually Gigan's hook that's hitting him out of the air. I also particularly love the fact that as the series goes on, and even our one of our managers asked us to like, so what are you guys watching? I'm like, oh, we're doing our Bond versus Godzilla podcast where we analyze both film series. And he's like, oh, so what do you compare? Nothing. How are they connected? They're not.
Oh, hardly ever anything is usually the answer, but these two films actually did have a few
Yeah,
things in common
because
this time.
I try to find ways to connect them where I can.
Both movies have car chases
Both movies have yellow cars going
involving
down
yellow
cliffs.
cars. Both have
That's-
motorcycle chases.
Yeah, definitely.
People being tied up, stealing technology, and naked women.
Which is didn't expect to see that in Godzilla.
One technical similarity was that both had screens that were superimposed onto the screen.
I must have had my hands buried in my face when there was a naked woman on.
It's when
You
they're it was
would,
when they're in
Willie.
the truck.
Oh, that.
The
Okay,
poster
okay, the
on the
poster.
back.
Yeah, they're
the poster.
posters.
Okay, no, I saw
Correction,
that.
Willie. I was putting my hands over your eyes to protect your innocent soul.
Leon paid Cruz for that.
That's a titty.
No, he didn't.
It's not even being covered. It's just right there next to the character who's talking, so your eyes are focused on it.
And weird small detail was that, like, in the first shot, there's like one poster on the left side of the shot, and then the next time that truck is in the scene, it's a different poster on the left side. So like someone changed it out for some reason.
So what do you guys think of Megalon, a.k.a. cicada mixed with a beetle mixed with
I
a
didn't
grasshopper?
Like him. I didn't
I
like him.
liked him for like a couple minutes, but then I remembered what movie he was in.
Right.
Like someone put some effort into those characters.
Oh my god, the similarity. The Bond girl in For Your Eyes Only and this monster in this movie. I feel like this monster could have had a better showcase if it was showed off in a different movie.
Huh, I was actually kind of about to say that they didn't seem like they were intent on using this character to like his potential kind of.
Oh, a different Godzilla movie, you mean?
If his appearance was in a different movie.
Essentially, the character would have been better if he was in a better movie.
That's what I'm attributing to
Megalon.
Yeah,
Megalon.
unfortunately, his namesake is attached to this movie.
Yeah.
yeah.
Also, with how upset Willie got from this movie, I've noticed that you become psychic when you become upset. Because you predict things.
I called like 3 fucking things as a joke, and I'm like, oh, god damn it.
You're like, when they make these movies, they probably go to a hobby store and buy a bunch of just fake airplanes. Cut to them going to a hobby store, buying a plane, and you're like, oh my god.
That was the best. I could not believe it. When that fucking happened, I was just like,
just wait for it.
The thing that disappointed me the most with this one was the complete and utter lack of a plot.
Mm-hmm.
All the previous movies, they had, the plot may have been amazing, but it was there.
yeah.
Here, it's just, they just came up with one tiny excuse to have a monster fight, and then you just let that ride.
Yeah, like
the-
they introduced the Ceetopian people, and then all the fights was going
nowhere.
on, and then when it cut back to them, it took me a second. I was
It's
like,
oh right, there's an
Right.
underwater civilization
I
involved
was like,
apparently.
wait, who the fuck? Oh right, they're the guys who sent the bug monster.
Like we barely even talked about the Ceetopians. Like the main thing I remember about them is that they have
Togas.
surprisingly polished floors, dancers, and their leader wears a toga.
Yeah, the leader of the Ceetopians is a random Caucasian man.
Also,
Megalon,
sir,
rise, Megalon, rise, chicken, arise.
So, as strange and out of place as the Ceetopian leader may be, the things I know that my co-hosts don't know yet. The king of Ceetopia, the king of Ceetopia, known as Antonio.
wait, is that his actual title?
It's a
in the movie?
traditional
That's in-
Ceetopian name.
Yeah, in the movie.
Been passed down for ages. Part of their
Antonio was played by Robert Dunham, who was a fluent Japanese speaker that starred in several Toho pictures and was lucky enough to date Akiko Wakabayashi for a short period of time.
Hey. And then the other detail that was pointed out is that this film had no women aside from some dancers down in below.
Yeah, just after the film, Jake was like very pensively chewing on a candy cigarette going, oh my God, were there any women in this movie?
Damn.
And the answer is yes, but they have no speaking roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a strange thing of like there are these three guys. We don't know if they're related. We don't know if they're brothers.
We don't know anything about them aside from they built a robot.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
You just now caught that we never know their relationship. they're just two guys and a kid who built a robot.
I think the kid was one of their sons.
I don't think it's ever established.
No,
It wasn't.
they just say, "What have you done with my friends?" And that's about as much as we know.
Friends
about
is
them.
all you get. They're just two guys and this kid, and they built
I
built a robot.
I assume brother and one was the kid. I feel like
They just exist.
Oh my God! How did we not talk about the stupid fucking dolphin boat? What the fuck
God.
was this thing?
Oh my god!
How did? Oh my God! This is one of the things I forgot to write down as a note. In the beginning of this movie, this kid is riding a boat that has a weird large-nosed dolphin on it.
It's like a toy paddle boat, but the paddles themselves are shaped like smaller dolphins, and this thing has absolutely no push. So when he's paddling on this boat, it's literally going nowhere.
Like it moves at like 3.5 nautical miles an hour because its only mode of locomotion is that the two little extra pedal mounted fish things just kind of whop forward,
no more
left,
momentum.
right, over and over again, like it's walking on water, but there's still aquatic mammals. It's still made of aquatic mammals. Like, what the fuck is this thing?
It's like it's walking on water, but it's doing that dance where you stay the fuck still.
They say that those who can't do force their friends to, and then make a podcast out of it. Now, aside from the insane list of alternate titles for the Godzilla movies, they also come with a plethora of equally confusing movie posters from across the world.
Oh no.
With Godzilla vs. Megalon being one of the most infamous, I decided to include the posters alongside the alternate titles.
Oh god. I'm ready.
It's right in my veins.
From France, we have Godzilla 1980.
I was actually about to compliment it until I saw his face.
Same.
Oh my God!
I'm like, oh, that doesn't look that. Oh my god!
Dude, have you seen his hands?
For a movie made in 1973.
He looks like Mole Godzilla.
Ugh. From Mexico, we have Planetary Titans.
Jaguar looks like a total douche, but otherwise it looks good. Let
me see.
He's just trying to eat
With his,
all
like,
the
hands
attention.
up, like, yeah, I'm the main character.
Okay, yeah, I see
My
that.
name's on the title. Wait, it's not? Oh, God damn it!
From Italy, we have At the Borders of Reality.
That's right, Willie.
Who the fuck is that?
Jet Jaguar's
What do you think
coming.
it
It's
made
Jet
him-
Jaguar, and he's here to meet you in your dreams and kidnap you.
They made him more terrifying.
yeah,
That's impressive.
just what he needed to do. Be able
My
to
name's
peer.
Jet Jaguar, and I'm here to say I'm going to punch you every fucking day. From Spain, we have Gorgo and Superman meet in Tokyo.
Superman?
I mean,
Superman.
to be fair, that is honestly a pretty apt description.
At least Godzilla actually looks like he has like an emotion.
I mean, that actually looks like a movie poster.
Who the fuck is Gorgo?
Yes.
And my personal favorite
Yes.
From Germany.
from Germany.
Yes.
King
Kong.
And the demons from outer space.
I mean, it's not Frankenstein.
What the fuck is this tongue doing?
And last but not least, from America,
What?
America.
Godzilla's right there, though.
Godzilla vs. Megalon in the greatest movie poster ever made.
Oh.
Oh wow,
Oh.
that is aged beautifully.
Oh. Oh no.
Oh.
Oh,
There's about 5 layers
no.
of what the fuck going on here.
I mean, like, obviously they couldn't have known at the time, but still. Oh no.
I like how they're featuring a helicopter that was not even in this movie.
Exactly.
I mean, that's
As opposed to other things.
yeah,
that
as
weren't in
opposed
this
to
movie.
other things that were not in this movie. That
Like
is on
the
that
Twin
poster.
Towers. A fight on top of the Twin Towers. Good God.
I love Godzilla movies.
Oh yeah, we made a joke near the beginning of the movie where it's just like, it was like Jet Jaguar or something who was like going to get Godzilla. We just joked that he comes back with Godzuki.
Yeah. Jet Jaguar can't melt steel beams.
人が作ったロボットだけどジェッジャガージェッジャガーやったぜジャガー行け行け平和を守るためみんなも驚く勇気を見せるゴジラとジャガーでパンチパンチパンチ泣くな僕らも頑張ろう
So, Jake, would you recommend For Your Eyes Only or Godzilla vs. Megalon for a first-time viewer?
I'm going to go ahead, and I think this is the first for me. I'm going to go ahead and not recommend either of these movies for a first-time viewer. I don't think For Your Eyes Only is necessarily a bad movie. I think it's fine, but it is not Bond's best foot forward. Especially, you know, I've said this for pretty much every Roger Moore movie. Any Roger Moore you can pick up and watch as a first time, and they're all really great stepping stones. It's just that this stepping stone is half submerged in the river.
And your socks get wet.
And your socks get wet. You'll still get over the river. You'll just have wet socks.
And you'll catch a cold.
And a crossbow bolt in your back. Megalon, stay far away from. Do not use this to get into Godzilla. Become a Godzilla fan first. Riff on this later. Otherwise, stay far away from it.
I think we're all probably going to have the same consensus on Godzilla versus Megalon, but I will say, I agree with pretty much everything Jake said about For Your Eyes Only, but I kind of would recommend it for a few reasons. First of all, it is a very low key Bond movie. I feel like it's very much not what you usually get out of one. If you look past the movie's faults itself, a really good Bond girl. And those are few and far between, especially the ones that, like, actually do shit on the mission instead of become the damsel in distress at the end.
Yeah, neither of these movies really did it for me overall, but, you know, they both have things that you'll appreciate if you're already into either series. So save these for down the road once you're able to appreciate them from the perspective of somebody who already appreciates the priors in these series.
I wish I could be an outlier in this situation and recommend one of these films, specifically Megalon, just to shake things up. But no, I guess that's going to be a no from all of us. For Your Eyes Only is not bad. It's just okay. It's quite underwhelming for a Bond film. And Godzilla vs. Megalon, as much as it's a lot of fun, it's a lot more fun when you go into it having seen previous films. And be sure to bring some friends with you to riff the hell out of it.
Next time on James Bond, we've alluded to it all podcasts long, but now it is time for Kevin McClory to return with a vengeance with his own remake of Thunderball. Sean Connery will return in Never Say Never Again.
And next time on Godzilla, we face our evil robot counterparts in what I consider to be Jun Fukuda's best directorial installment in the series. Come with us if you want to live in Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla. Thank you all for listening to Bond vs. Godzilla. We'll see you next time with a martini in one hand and a rubber suit in the other.
Stay tuned and stay watching.